Hello students, welcome to online video tutorials. In this video, let's look into two types of networks, that is passive optical networks and local area networks. Passive optical networks are also called as PON. So let us understand the general structure of passive optical networks. This optical fiber access networks employ passive optical components and configured around a splitter or a combiner. So this is called as passive because it doesn't use any electrical power except at the fiber endpoints. So which may incorporate various optoelectronic devices such as ONUs or NIUs. So basic PON has three elements that are connecting a service provider to output device located near the customer premises as shown in the figure. So this is using an optical splitter or a demultiplexer. So this splitter is serving a number of customers where output device uses 1 cross n optical power splitters. The arrangement is made in such a way that the splitter um, is serving n number of customer services. Current PON based access networks can be classified into three categories: ATM PON or broadband PON, Ethernet PON or gigabit Ethernet PON or gigabit PON. Asynchronous transfer mode passive optical networks are also called as APON. So figure shows APON with 1 cross 32 splitters at a remote node covering maximum distance of 20 kilometers. So APON means asynchronous transfer mode over PON strategy that facilitates the transmission of voice or data communication, and this combines the capacity for multiple services at ATM bit rates with transparent transmission of PON. So the data rates used in APON are as follows: 155 megabits per second are used for upstreaming and 622 megabits per second are used for downstreaming. Also, this APON or asynchronous transfer mode PONs cannot carry any IP data packets. These can be broken up into small pieces and reassembled at the user terminals. So this can be accomplished using Ethernet PONs or EPONs. Ethernet PON or EPON. This figure shows the data transmission which may occur in variable length packets in EPON. Each packet contains information on the destination. Therefore, all the packets arrive in the sequential order, enabling a complete message to be constructed between OLT and the splitter. So 1, 2, 1, 3. This is the messages which is being sent from the input side, and as shown in the figure, at the splitter the traffic is coupled into three fibers, each carrying all the same traffic. So when the data reaches the ONU, it accepts the packet that are intended for it, rest it will discard. For example, ONU1, it is accepting packet 1 and it is discarding 2 and 3. ONU is accepting packet 2 and it is discarding 1 and 3. And in ONU3, it is accepting third packet and it is discarding 1 and 2 respectively. So in figure B, it shows an arrangement of upstream traffic in EPON, and it is managed by using TDM approach. So as specific transmissions, time slots are dedicated to each ONU. That is, in example, ONU1, ONU3 will transmit um, 3 packet 3 in the first time slot. ONU2 will transmit second packet in the specific time slot, and so on. Therefore, 3 packets each with variable packet length are TDM interleaved by the marks, and it is transmitted to the input OLT. Gigabit PON or GPON. So this is a high capacity PON designed to facilitate IP packet transmission, which is not only restricting for ATM or Ethernet packets. So typical structure of GPON is shown in the figure. The arrangement is as same as we studied in EPON, just that the splitting ratio is extending up to 1 cross 128. So due to some fiber dispersion aspects, 1 cross 64 is considered as an appropriate splitting ratio for the longer transmissions. The distance between ONU and OLT is 20 kilometers, and gigabit PON supports transmission rates up to 2.4 gigabits per second for both upstream as well as for downstream. This gigabit PON can carry both ATM and Ethernet packets. Therefore, different traffic mixes to be accommodated as shown in the figure. GPON frame transmission. So we have different modes of transmission. So in this case, we have GPON frame transmission with figure A showing a combined transmission of ATM, IP and Ethernet, which are mapped onto GPM frame architecture. So ATM traffic is incorporated in ATM frame, Ethernet and IP are incorporated in generic frame. So we call it as an GFP, that is generic frame procedure. So GFP was basically used in PON to encapsulate SONET frames. So therefore it is also called as GPP or GFP over PON, also called as GPON encapsulation method or GEM. So hence both GEM and ATM frames are combined using GPON transmission convergence. So GTC frame, we call it as an GTC frame. Finally, in the figure we can see that the GEM frame structure for GPON encapsulates IP or Ethernet frames and mapping of them onto the GPON. So next we have to understand what is WDM PON. WDM is wavelength division multiplexed passive optical networks. This facilitate large bandwidth with moderate complexity, and the implementation is as shown in the figure. Here we can see that OLT comprises of both WDM sources and receivers, and we have OBPF, that is optical bandpass filters, that is used to separate optical signals between transmitter and receiver units in OLT. So the OLT that is connected to the remote node by the fiber carries bidirectional signal transmission, enabling two wavelength bands, that is one for upstreaming and another for downstreaming. So we also have a remote node, that is RN section, so with a multiplexer and DMUX units comprising of arrayed waveguides, AWGs, and they are used to route WDM signals from remote node to particular ONUs, so also called as end users. Long reach passive optical network configuration. So this figure shows the arrangement of long reach PON, that is the distance is extended up to 120 kilometers for overall access networks. So in PON configuration, the feeder section has an amplifier. We can see in the feeder section we have an amplifier, while a remote node resides on an optical splitter and an optical amplifier to increase the optic signal power to provide a greater number of splits. So in the distribution section, the amplifier splitter can have splitting ratio up to 1 cross 1024 and also up to 1 cross 2048 and so on. So this LR PON can be reconfigured potentially to enable end users to interconnect public telecommunication networks such as MAN or directly to long haul networks. The local area networks. So these local area networks usually confined to either buildings, military, industries, educational sites, etc. LAN can be controlled by owning body. So this figure shows the OSI which was developed for WANs. So the difference between LANs and WANs are found to refine last two layers, that is bottom two layers, data link and physical layers of OSI model into three layers. So a LAN model is just splitting The OSI network last two models into three models, that is LLC, MAC and physical layer. So LLC is logical link layer, media access layer and physical layer. The data link layer of the OSI model is divided into two layers, that is logical link layer, that is LLC layer, and medium access control layer, which is also called as MAC layer. Optical fiber LAN topologies. So the optical fiber LAN topologies are established extending the capacity of the copper and wireless based LANs. The TIA, that is Telecommunication Industry Association organization, have developed computer-based interactive LAN models considering different standards, topologies and their operational issues. So some of the LAN topologies are discussed in this slide consists of bus topology, ring topology and star topologies. The details of these topologies were also discussed in the previous lectures. FTDI reference model and its relationship to the OSI model. So in late 1980s, that standardization within the LAN was centered on FTDI, that is Fiber Distributed Data Interface, specified by ANSI. ANSI is American National Standard Institute. What is FTDI? It is based on the IEEE 802.5 standard token ring. Some of the FTDI features are summarized in this slide. That is, it consists of 100 megabits per second higher data rate and up to 100 kilometers dual ring fiber, and it has up to 500 network nodes, and it uses timed token passing control. FTDI was made compatible with OSI model and IEEE 802.5 structures. So FTDI has several features, that is it has physical layer which is divided into two sublayers, that is physical medium dependent layer and physical layer protocol. So interfacing this PMD and data link layer is provided by PHY layer, that is physical layer protocol. So the MAC of the data layer is taken care by the MAC layer. Finally, it also has something called as station management layer, that is SMT, that controls the process within the stations, including configuration, fault tolerance and the link quality. So in this figure we can see there are two types of configurations. The first one is dual ring structure. So in the first dual ring structure we can see that there are two rings, that is primary ring and secondary ring. So the FTDI has inbuilt recovery mechanisms to enhance the robustness. So the network operations that are designated as primary ring are shown in the figure. So however, if the primary ring is broken, so the transmission will be automatically switched to the secondary ring in case of dual ring structure. Similarly, if we see figure B, the reconfigurations of stations around the cable break is illustrated. So this is controlled by SMT. As I mentioned, FTDI has one feature called as SMT that controls the processes within the stations, including fault tolerance, link quality and so on. So if the cable is broken and if the path is having some fault or there is any power down, it will not affect the network because it is having an inbuilt station management function, and it is having a provision to bypass the switches within all the other stations.